I'm very honored to be here. My name is Rachel Sterne. I'm the Chief Digital Officer for the City of New York now for a little bit over 2 months. And I understand that, municipal government may not be the first thing you think of when you're thinking about creativity and innovation, but I think that, after you see some of the things the city's already doing, you may start to rethink that. You may realize there's actually an enormous amount of creativity going on in the city already. So to sort of preface the conversation, could we have a show of hands of who here is either from New York City, living in New York City, working with teams from New York City, or expects to one day work with someone from New York City? Great. So is it safe to say that the future of New York City is pretty relevant and important to a lot of you here? Yes. Great. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about initiatives we have underway in the city and some of our visions for where we hope to take them. And please pay attention. There will be a small quiz at the end. So the concept that I'm really excited about in this role, and the role really is focused on all the digital technology that connects the public to the government. So that includes looking at things like NYC.gov, the city's website, 311 Online, which is our customer service or citizen service system for dealing with complaints and requests from the public. But also in the same note, it includes Facebook, Twitter, where many, many city agencies are engaging directly with the public on those platforms. Mobile applications, QR codes. You'd be surprised to know that all of this is already underway in the city, and we hope to take it further. And what's even more exciting is that Tim O'Reilly first sort of coined this phrase of government as a platform. And this is very exciting because when we think of platforms and APIs, we think of things like Facebook and Twitter that create entire ecosystems. Well, in New York City, we are sitting on top of one of the largest stores of data and information probably in the world. So there's an enormous resource there to tap into that I think can tie into delivering better service to our citizens, but also helping to enhance every aspect of their lives. So what does this mean? So the role that digital currently plays, and that I think that there's a lot of opportunity to play, is translating basically from the piece we have on the left, so the normal human way that you would try to solve a problem, and what we have on the far right, which is the way that the municipal government is structured to deal with that. And these are structures that have taken a long time to build, and they're very important because a government is not a startup, right? We're dealing with people's lives and safety and security and health, and so we have to make decisions a little bit differently. But what this comes down to is, if you have a pothole on your street, you shouldn't have to be able to guess which of 7 pothole types it is so that you can then go to the correct agency and solve it. And this is where this layer in the middle is so exciting. It's basically allowing us to translate in real time what you want and what your query is with how we can solve it on our end. And we don't have to completely restructure our government. It's working. New York City is doing amazing things. But we can just make it more accessible, interesting, intuitive to deal with. A great way of sort of taking this down to a more concrete level is to compare NYC.gov, public digital environment, to a physical digital environment that people are very familiar with. So I like to make the comparison to Central Park. And the great thing is that pretty soon the yearly traffic to NYC.gov is going to eclipse the yearly traffic to Central Park. So it's really sort of an interesting comparison when you look at it. So how do we compare these two different environments? So Central Park, 35 million visitors a year. NYC.gov, 33 million visitors a year and increasing. Central Park has dozens of entrances. NYC.gov has hundreds of thousands of landing pages that you can find through Google and other search engines to access the information that you're looking for. One of the coolest things when you're comparing public spaces in the digital environment and the physical environment is that while Central Park is limited, the NYC.gov constraints are limitless. So we can expand that as much as we want. It really costs us nothing to add another page, add another feature. And that means that we can serve people on their own terms in many different ways. This also carries over to the hours, 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. in Central Park. NYC.gov is 24/7. And lastly, it sort of comes down to, well, we've got the piece about staff and stewards. On our side, on the digital side, we're building up more and more community managers to engage with the public. Both are thankfully free. But it's that middle piece there that is really interesting to me, and that is that of course, Central Park is more of a leisure environment, but essentially up to this point, the concept of government is almost as a consumer. I give you taxes, you give me services. And what is enabled by technology is that we start to see opportunities where you're turned into a producer, if you want to be. You can still consume, but it's a much more collaborative environment, or we're co-producing together. And that opens up a whole host of opportunities. So the concept of city as a platform. What does this mean when we're looking at things like platforms and APIs in a municipal or government context? Well, what it enables from the get-go is from the point of view from the user, so the user experience of NYC.gov, is that we're able to make it citizen-centric. It's about you, it's about the way that a typical human being is trying to be served by their government or wants to be served the information they're looking for, the services that they need. Another important thing is that it democratizes the exchange of information and services. You don't always have to come to us. It doesn't have to be on our terms. It can be on your terms, and I'll show you a few ways that we're already doing that. It's also multi-directional, so it's not just broadcast. This is the way that you need to live your lives. We're enabling that back and forth conversation, but we're also taking steps to help you connect the nodes among yourselves so that you can connect with other citizens and other public and private organizations to help to solve for the challenges or the opportunities in your community. And again, this comes down to a decentralized, customized experience of your user experience of NYC.gov. So the first piece is, how are we enabling the physical environment to be, and this of course ties into a lot of the discussions that have been happening today, to really be deeply linked to the digital environment? How are we able to, I guess you could say it's augmenting reality, but certainly add digital context to the physical environment? So one easy and simple way, and something that's very important when you're thinking about a government, is it's not always necessarily about the shiny iPhone app, because you have to think about people at every single level of technology literacy, access, ability, et cetera, being able to access the information that they need. This is why I love the Notify NYC SMS alerts. If you're not already doing this, first of all, you can follow Notify NYC on Twitter, but you can also sign up to get these alerts on your phone, and it's incredible. It basically sends only the most crucial information. It won't overload you, and it helps to do things like locate missing persons, if there's a major road closure, et cetera. It's hugely important. Another really exciting thing that was rolled out recently, I heard earlier on the mobile tagging panel that they were talking about adding, someone was like, wouldn't it be so great if we could add context to historic buildings? Well, we're getting there already, actually, with the city of New York. So a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a little bit over a month ago, the Department of Buildings introduced QR codes that are now on all of future construction permits and electrical permits. And this is fantastic because New Yorkers are nosy, they want information, and they're especially wanting information when there's a loud construction site going on near their homes. So what this means is that if you hear that happening, you can, of course, call 311, but you can also go directly to the site of the construction site, look at the permit, scan the QR code, and you get the phone number of the guy who's managing the site, or woman, and you can call them directly. You can see all the prior violations. So it's opening up all of this information that previously, to be honest, was very hard to find. And instead, now it's immediately at your fingertips. Another really cool thing, I don't know if people are familiar with Broadcaster, it's a new startup. They just launched a very cool new project with the Parks Department. So what Broadcaster does is it's geotagged audio tours. And what this means is that as you're walking around Central Park, you put on the Broadcaster app, you click GeoPlay, and it automatically starts playing basically really interesting audio tours, speeches, historical information about wherever you happen to be. So you walk into Strawberry Fields and you find out all about the history of that space. And it follows you as you go, and it's this layer that's just built on top of that physical environment without imposing too much on your ability to just walk around. So collaborative problem solving. This is another thing that is really exciting about what NYC as a platform, city as a platform enables. So recently, about a little bit over a month ago as well, we introduced the Ask Mike conversation campaign, and that's a way to allow anyone really in the world to ask questions to Mayor Bloomberg that he will address on his weekly Friday radio show. This is a great example of previously, even 5-10 years ago, there was no way that you could even potentially hope that a big, prominent public official would be able to respond, at least see every question, respond, et cetera. And this completely sort of breaks down all of those barriers. Another interesting thing that's happening is the NYC Simplicity project, which is led by Deputy Mayor Goldsmith. We're looking to save money, and we're looking to green our city, and he decided to launch this suggestion box of sorts that allows anyone to submit their ideas for how the city can do it. One of the top ones that were submitted were lights off in city buildings. Now, you may think it's just a PR exercise, but I actually work in the building that's in that picture, and because I'm doing a lot of work since I just started, I usually am the one who's turning off the lights every night, and this has had amazing effects already. So it's just a great example of how we're crowdsourcing ideas from the public and implementing them immediately, experimenting on the municipal level. Another great tool is looking at, we can also come to you to ask questions and engage in platforms that are custom built for question and answer, like Quora. So Quora has been fantastic. When I first started the role, one of the first things I did was I posed a question on Quora saying, what are your ideas for technology that can serve citizens in New York City? The thing that I've circled there in the middle, of course, is the one that ties in most closely to New York City as a platform. But of course, you also see people like Anil Dash and other prominent figures in this space who are adding a lot of insight to the process. So Citizen-Centric. So this basically means we come to you. We engage with you on your terms. Some examples of how this is already happening is the 311 iPhone app. So if you live in New York City and you don't have it, or if you visit frequently, I highly recommend downloading it. And they have an amazing ability to follow up. It's the same as submitting a request via phone to 311. One example is you see a pothole, you take a picture with your iPhone, you are able to detect your location and geotag it, you send it, and it's addressed in a number of days. So this has been fantastic. We're looking to expand on that, and we're also looking to get more people using these tools, because the more people using online tools, the more we can lessen the burden on our call centers. The city, when I made this slide when I was first starting my research, the city actually has over 200 social media channels. This is because there's over 100 city agencies. There are a number of different programs, and people are already using this at different agencies to engage with the public around a whole host of issues. To check them out, you can go to NYC.gov/social media. And a specific example of where this citizen-centric citizen service is happening is on Twitter via 311. So 311 has quietly become very innovative in already addressing customer complaints or citizen complaints via 311. Here we see that we have a happy customer. It's always nice to highlight one of those, but they basically within a week posted their complaint to Twitter, using Twitter to 311 NYC. It was processed through the necessary channels, and right now we're developing the protocols that allow us to integrate this into our process. The other piece about this is it's happening in the public space. So someone who maybe is having a similar problem is aware, oh, this is being addressed, and also they realize, well, if something happens in the future that I want to bring attention to, I'll tweet 311 NYC. This is one of my favorite examples of what the city is doing right in social media. Craig Newmark always says that the key to his success with Craigslist is you build the platform and you get out of the way. And I think this is a good rule of thumb for government in order to sort of make it feel like a more authentic, interesting, engaging experience. So the Department of Health launched this NYC Quits Smoking page. And then they basically got out of the way. And what this page has become is a support network. It's like a support group for people who are quitting smoking. They're cheering each other on. They're sharing their tips. And it's really become owned and really gained a lot of investment from the community itself. So democratizing access to information. This is an amazing effort with thousands of data points from the city of New York. If you go to our 311 service request map, there's an entire map of the city that shows with radical transparency where we have complaints, what the status on those complaints are, and what it does is it really holds our officials accountable. And you can look up every one of those 7 types of potholes that I mentioned. You can look up by community board. You can look up by zip code. It's really phenomenal. And one of my favorites is the Daily Pothole. This is a Tumblr account, actually, that was launched by the great folks at the Department of Transportation that is also sort of an exercise in radical transparency. And it's great because it takes something that maybe we don't have the most positive association with normally and puts a positive spin, because you start to realize just how much work is going into this. If you go to the page now, this is from quite a while ago. We're at over 315,000 potholes repaired since July 1st, 2010. Basically it helps to create a better sense of trust between the public and the government. You realize, first of all, we have a sense of humor. We're aware that this is something that drives you crazy. It drives us crazy also. But you should know that there's an enormous amount of work going into this. And here's the proof. And there are photos and videos of our teams at work across the city. So this is the most exciting thing that I think is happening in our city and sort of moving forward, which is looking at how we can open up our data and really create open governments that completely decentralize the exchange of information and the exchange of services to citizens. So this year was the second year that we did the NYC Big Apps competition. I don't know if anyone in the room is familiar with it, but what it's been able to do is we've opened up 350 data sets of public information that in the past you'd have to go through a FOIL request or you'd have to go through an arduous process, and we've put it out in formats that developers can work with. And we've been able to create an enormous and basically support an enormous amount of innovation, because we're not doing the innovation ourselves. We're opening it up to developers who then compete for prize money. Both years, the first year we had $25,000 of prize money. This year it was doubled to $50,000 because BMW's iVentures wanted to align themselves with this initiative because they're focusing on mobile applications. The other great piece here, it's just great on so many levels from a city perspective, because this is at virtually no cost to the city. But an agency, just by opening up their data, can get an application built that serves their constituents that might have cost them otherwise $200,000, $300,000 to build, just because of the way that these kind of procurement issues are currently structured. So we're saving money for taxpayers. We're engaging the private sector, who frankly, this is what they do best. They know how to engage people and create usable user experiences much better than we can. And we're also creating jobs and innovation. So the winner from last year, NYC Way, received $5 million in funding and is rapidly expanding. I'll give you 2 quick examples of some of those apps, the ones that won this year. So the first one is Rotify. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this. So it's fantastic. I love it. It's bridging community to commuting. So don't you ever think, you're driving and you wish, I wish I had known there was all this traffic. There must be some way to tap into that. That's what they're doing. So they're aggregating all of that data in a social transportation platform that helps you find the best roads, parking, and lets you know if public transport is down. And in addition to the crowdsource user or social element to that, we've got information coming in from DOT, MTA, and Google Transit. Sorry, DOT is the Department of Transportation. I'm already talking in acronyms. The other one that's really great is so simple, but just to give another sense of the data sets. Have you heard of this? So it's amazing. So one of the data sets that we have up is all of, and this is updated very frequently because the food bloggers are so interested in it, and they'll really bother the health department if they don't update their records. But it's all of the restaurant grades that show if there are health violations in the restaurants. And someone had the great idea of, you're checking in on Foursquare to this restaurant, would you maybe want to know if they're at risk of being shut down? So this is great because it keeps our restaurant owners honest, and it informs our citizens, and it serves them. So in closing, we have 350 data sets now. We hope to expand this dramatically. And I am here to give you a little bit of a call to action, which is that we need the creativity of the people in this room to help create a better New York City, basically, to use this data to better serve people around the world, and to really embrace the potential that offers. So I said at the beginning there would be a quiz. So can I see a show of hands of anyone who thinks that integrating with these data sets might help them create more interesting marketing campaigns, more relevant products, or that they could use from a consumer perspective? Anyone? Okay, so it's a start. That's really exciting. So I'm going to hold you to that. In a year, come back. We're going to be developing basically tools that allow us to get you this data and information in real time, and we'll really need your support. So thank you so much.